The information provided in this podcast is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. Listening to this podcast does not create an attorney-client relationship with Foyle Legal. For advice tailored to your situation, please consult a qualified legal professional. Welcome to Personal Injury Claims Explained by Foyle Legal, your trusted source for understanding personal injury claims in Western Australia. Each week, we simplify complex legal issues, from motor vehicle accidents to workplace injuries, so you can confidently navigate your rights and claim the compensation you deserve.
Ever find yourself slowing down after seeing one of those car-truck collisions? You know the ones where the car looks like an accordion?
Yeah, can't say I blame you. Those images can be pretty intense.
It's more than just a fender bender.
Yeah.
So today we're doing a deep dive into truck accidents, and let me tell you, the impact goes way beyond a few dents and scratches.
You got that right. It's a whole different ballgame when you're dealing with vehicles of that size and weight.
To put things in perspective, we're going straight to the experts. We're breaking down an article from Foyle Legal, a top-rated personal injury firm in Perth, Australia.
Oh, I know Foyle Legal. They specialize in these types of cases. Their insights are spot on, very practical.
And they don't sugarcoat things either. Right off the bat, they use the term catastrophic injuries, which kind of sends shivers down your spine, to be honest.
It's not just legal jargon. It reflects the reality of what people experience in these accidents.
So, not your typical whiplash from a rear-end bump.
We're talking life-altering stuff here. Think traumatic brain injuries, spinal cord damage. The kind of harm that requires extensive rehabilitation.
And the impact on someone's life, their ability to work, it's just immense. It makes you realize it's not just about fixing a dented bumper.
It's about putting lives back together, and that's not easy.
But when you've got these massive trucks involved, who's even to blame? It seems way more complex than just pointing a finger at the driver, right?
Exactly. Unlike a two-car collision, truck accidents can have a whole chain of potentially responsible parties.
Okay, like who?
Well, you've got the driver, of course, but then there's the trucking company, the people who loaded the cargo, maybe even the manufacturers of the truck's parts.
Whoa, so multiple pieces to this puzzle.
Absolutely, each playing a critical role, and sometimes it's the combination of these different factors that ultimately leads to a disaster.
Talk about a tangled web. Where do you even begin to unravel that? So let's talk more about the trucking company's role in all of this. They're the ones calling the shots, right?
To a large extent, yes. And this is where things can get a bit, shall we say, murky.
Murky, how so?
Well, trucking companies, they operate on tight schedules, strict deadlines, and that can sometimes create pressure on drivers.
To push their limits, like driving longer hours than they should, or maybe even skipping safety checks?
Unfortunately, yes, and that's where those black boxes you hear about come in.
Black boxes? Like in airplanes. They have those in trucks.
Oh yeah, most commercial trucks have them these days. They record all sorts of data about the truck's operation.
So they're like a silent witness to what actually happened leading up to an accident.
Precisely. They track speed, braking, even steering maneuvers in those crucial moments. It's a game changer for investigators.
But even with a black box, figuring out who's really at fault seems anything but straightforward. I mean, you've got driver error, company pressure, and then you throw in all these regulations surrounding the trucking industry.
Oh, absolutely. The regulations are extensive. You've got federal laws governing driver hours, vehicle maintenance, how cargo is secured. It's a lot to keep track of.
So even if it initially seems like the driver messed up, there might be a whole other level of negligence on the company's part. Like maybe they weren't even following safety protocols.
Bingo! And that's why it's crucial to have a lawyer who's well-versed in these regulations, someone who can connect the dots. Because chances are, if a company is cutting corners in one area, they might be doing it in others too.
Wow, I'm starting to feel like I need a law degree and a trucking license just to wrap my head around all of this. But I imagine this can feel incredibly intimidating for someone who's just been in an accident, right? They're injured, probably overwhelmed, and then they've got this massive trucking company, probably with a whole legal team, ready to fight back.
It can feel like David versus Goliath, no doubt about it.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
And to be honest, in many ways, it is. These trucking companies, they have resources, experienced legal teams, and they're used to these kinds of battles.
That's a scary thought. But Foyle Legal, they specifically mention some unique challenges for people in Western Australia. They talk about uninsured motorists and something called CTP insurance.
Ah, yes, CTP, compulsory third-party insurance.
Compulsory. So everyone has it.
It's mandatory in Western Australia. It's actually included in your vehicle registration and covers personal injuries caused by vehicles.
So even if someone hits you and they don't have insurance themselves,
You're still covered for those medical expenses, at least to some extent. It's a safety net, you could say.
that sounds like a good thing, knowing you're at least somewhat protected even in those situations. But you said to some extent.
Right, there are limitations to CTP insurance, which is something to be aware of.
Oh, I was afraid there might be a but in there somewhere.
There often is, isn't there? We can delve into those limitations after a quick break.
We're back, and before the break, we were getting into the nitty-gritty of CTP insurance in Western Australia. Seems like a pretty sweet deal at first glance, but I have a feeling it's not as simple as it sounds.
You're right to be cautious. CTP, it's designed for those immediate medical costs after an accident, which, trust me, can be substantial in a truck accident, but it's not a magic bullet.
Okay, so it's there for those initial hospital bills, but what about the rest of it? Like, what if I can't work for months? What about the physical therapy I might need down the line?
That's exactly where those limitations come into play. CTP might cover the initial shock, but it's not going to rebuild your life if you're facing long-term consequences.
That's a huge gap, though. So
That-
what happens then? Do you just have to foot the bill yourself?
Well, that's where having a specialized lawyer by your side can make all the difference, especially in Western Australia. Understanding the intricacies of the CTP system is key.
So it's not just about knowing the law in general. It's about knowing the specific rules of the game in Western Australia.
Exactly. And remember those trucking companies we talked about, the ones with their legal teams? They're well versed in this stuff. They know how to navigate the system to their advantage.
Right, so it's like they're already 10 steps ahead, and meanwhile, you're just trying to figure out how to pay your medical bills.
It highlights the importance of leveling that playing field, which is something Foyle Legal emphasizes. They talk about the need for aggressive legal representation.
What does that even mean, aggressive?
It means having someone who's not afraid to go toe-to-toe with these companies and their insurers, someone who's going to fight tooth and nail to get you the compensation you deserve.
Because let's face it, those companies, they've got deep pockets. They can afford to drag things out, wear you down. But speaking of fighting for what's right, Foyle Legal also delves into the importance of a thorough investigation after an accident. What are they looking for specifically?
Well, it's about building a rock-solid case. So they're digging into everything. Driver records, hours logged, any past violations. They're scrutinizing company policies on vehicle maintenance, cargo loading, looking for any cracks in their procedures.
Wow, it's like detective work. I bet they uncover all sorts of things that wouldn't even cross the average person's mind.
You'd be surprised. And that's the difference specialized knowledge makes. It's about knowing which questions to ask, what evidence to gather to build the strongest case possible.
And ultimately, I guess it's about making sure the responsible parties are held accountable. It's about justice. Right?
Precisely. It's about ensuring that those who've been wronged, those who've suffered because of someone else's negligence, receive the compensation they deserve.
It's interesting that we've been talking about the aftermath of a truck accident, the legal battles, the insurance claims. But what about preventing these accidents in the first place?
Ah, now you're getting to the heart of the matter. And it's something Foyle Legal touches upon in their article. They mention the specialized licensing required to drive those massive trucks.
Right. It's not like you just hop into an 18-wheeler after passing your driving test.
Yeah.
But where are they going with that?
Well, it begs the question. Should car licenses have different tiers based on the size and power of the vehicle?
Wait, you mean like different licenses for driving a sedan versus a giant SUV? No, that's a thought.
It might sound radical, but it's more common than you might think.
Really? Tell me more.
Let's take a quick break and we'll unpack that idea when we come back.
And we're back. Before the break, we were on the edge of our seats talking about tiered licensing for drivers. You know, a little hatchback versus a monster truck situation. Is that really such a far-fetched idea?
It's more common than you might think. Several countries in Europe, for example, already have some form of graduated licensing based on engine size or vehicle weight.
Really? So it's not some crazy out there concept. Tell me more about how these systems work.
Well, in some cases, new drivers might be restricted to vehicles with smaller engines or lower horsepower for a certain period. Or they might need to complete additional training before they can get behind the wheel of something larger and more powerful.
That actually makes a lot of sense. I mean, we require pilots to have different certifications for different types of aircraft. It stands to reason that the same logic could apply to vehicles on the road.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that the skills and knowledge needed to safely operate a vehicle can vary significantly depending on its size and power.
And wouldn't that potentially make the roads safer for everyone? If everyone behind the wheel of those massive trucks and SUVs had undergone more rigorous training, wouldn't that, in theory, lead to fewer accidents?
That's the idea. Of course, any change to licensing systems would come with its own set of challenges and costs. But the potential benefits in terms of road safety are definitely worth considering.
And it's not just about safety, is it? This whole concept of tiered licensing, it circles back to that David versus Goliath theme we talked about earlier. If we have different tiers of licenses, couldn't insurance companies adjust premiums accordingly? Higher premiums for those driving larger, more potentially dangerous vehicles.
You're spot on. That kind of structure could create a financial incentive for people to really think twice about the type of vehicle they choose. Do they really need that gas-guzzling SUV? Or would a smaller, more fuel-efficient car better suit their needs?
All right, it's like, sure, you can drive that monster truck, but it's going to cost you.
And maybe that's not such a bad thing if it leads to safer roads for everyone. So we've gone from the nitty-gritty of truck accident lawsuits in Western Australia to pondering the future of driver's licenses. This deep dive took us on quite a journey.
And that's the beauty of a deep dive. We never know where it will lead, but it's always fascinating to explore these complex issues and uncover those hidden connections.
It definitely makes you think twice about what you thought you knew. Right. Who knew there was so much to unpack about truck accidents and the ripple effects they have on the legal system and even driver's education?
It's a reminder that even the most seemingly niche topics can reveal broader truths about our world. And often those unexpected insights are the ones that stick with us the longest. Absolutely. So to our listener, if you ever find yourself facing a legal battle after a truck accident, remember that knowledge is your best defense. Do your research, seek out expert advice, and don't be afraid to fight for your rights.
And if you're ever sharing the road with one of those big rigs, maybe this deep dive has given you a newfound appreciation for the skills and responsibilities those drivers carry.
Well said. And on that note, it's time for us to put the brakes on this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe out there.
Thank you for listening to Personal Injury Claims Explained by Foyle Legal. We hope this episode helped clarify your rights and next steps in your injury claim. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and visit foylelegal.com for more useful information. See you next time.